Want some? We're now in day 15 of our wonderful Vraja-mandala Parikrama, and today is a big activity day because everyone has to load their bag and baggage onto the top of the buses, and we all start our journey out to Govardhan. We're changing locations. We've been for 14 days in Vrindavan, which is half of the Parikrama. And now we're going to spend the next 2 and a bit weeks, 15 days, in Giriraj Govardhan. And as I said yesterday, I'm not quite sure of the ashram where Bon Maharaj and Sridhar Maharaj will take their party. Madhav Maharaj will be in the Giridhari Gaudiya Math. So I'm not sure which ashram they'll be, but they'll be in Govardhan. So we're going to make our journey to Govardhan, and then after the kirtan, I'll explain on the map the route, etc., that we're going to go on. So we'll just have our kirtan, and then we'll begin to explain our wonderful day.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavani Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Gaura Prashaya Bhutale Shri Shri Mahadvati Pragyana Keshava Iti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya.
Where's he going?
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Munindra Vrinda Vandite Triloka Shokaha Vikunja Bhuvilasi Rajendra Nandini Rajendra Sura Sangate Kadakarisya Shirama Vipaka Kakshabhajanam Ashoka Vishwavalari Vikanamanda Pasite Prabhalavala Pallava Prabhanuram Vitomale Paramaya Spuratare Prabhuta Sambadayane Kadakarisya Shriramam Vipaka Kakshabhajanam Anandana Mangala Prasanga Mangura Brahmam Savibramam Sasambramam Viganta Bana Bhajana Nilantaram Vashikita Pratiti Nandanandane Kadakarisya Shriramam Vipaka Sakshabhajanam Adityananam Saka Kadipya Gaura Vigrahe Mukha Prabha Parashaka Visharadendu Mandale Vichitra Chitra Sanchara Shakola Saravaloshane Kadakarisya Shiyama Vipaka Kakshabhajanam Nati Yogane Pramodamana Mandite Priyanuraga Ranjite Kalavilasa Mandite Adanya Danya Kunjaraja Kamate Govide Kadakarisya Siyama Vipaka Kakshabhajanam Sheshamadira Hira Hara Dushite Prabhuta Shata Kumba 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 Susani Prashasta Manga Hasya Chana Purna Sotya Sagane Kadakarisya Siyama Vipaka Kakshabhajanam Nala Vala Vallari Taranga Ranga Bhadralasya Lola Vina Lochana Bharogane Lalal Mulan Nilangana Yamogha Mohana Shrite Kadakarisya Shiyama Vipaka Kakshabhajanam Vikanchita Trileka Gandu Mankete Visukamandaliduna Triratna Dipti Diti Kalola Nila Kundala Prasuna Dusha Gambite Kadakarisya Shiyamam Vipaka Kakshabhajanam Dalamana Pushpamekala-gune Prashastaranga Vindini Kalapa-madhya-manjale Karinda Sundanandika Varoha Sobhagavate Kadakarisya Shiyamam Vipaka Kakshabhajanam Mantrada Manjunu Purada Vaskara Samajaraja Hamsa Vanshanikalati Gaurave Vilola Hemavalari Vidam Vicharu Chandra Kadakarisya Shiyamam Vipaka Kakshabhajanam
Ananta Koti Vishnu Lokananda Padma Kartite Imadrija Puroma Jantarim Chakapurapade Apara Siddhi Riddhi Sarvadangulimate Tadacharisya Sriyama Kripakakashvaranam Maheshwari Sureshwari Triveda Sureshwari Triveda Baladeshwari Ramana Shasaneshwari Rameshwari Rameshwari Ramodakananeshwari Rajeshwari Rajadika Shriradika Namosute Iti Mamadbhutam Savam Vishanya Bhanu Nandini Karotu Sankatam Janam Kripata Takshabhajanam Avetadaiva Sanjita Trirupa Kavanashanam Pavetrava Vrajendra Sunumandala Praveshanam Tadakarishyasyamam Kripakatashabhajanam Suchadu Bhakramandalam Sukarnaratna Kundalam Suchachitanga Chandanam Namami Nandanandanam Sudirga Netra Pankajam Shiki Shikandamodajam Ananga Koti Mohanam Namami Nandanandanam Sunasrigadamoktikam Swachandadantapantikam Navambudangachittanam Namami Nandanandanam Kareno Veno Ranjitam Gati Karindraganjitam Tukulapita Shobhanam Namami Nandanandanam Tribanga Deha Sundaram Tuti Sudakaram Amulya Ratna Bhushanam Namami Nandanandanam Sugandha Anga Saurabham Puro Virachiko Stubham Purashri Bhatsalanganam Namami Nandanandanam Vrindavana Sunandara Vilasanugavasasam Surendra Garva Mochanam Namami Nandanandanam Rajandana Sunayakam Sada Sutta Pradayakam Jagannana Pralobana Namami Nandanandanam Nandanastatam Pateya Shadvayam Gita Taredvava Bindushkaram Bhavetadangviyumatam Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Namami Nandanandanam Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Oh Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva. Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Prabhupada 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 Haribo Haribo Haribo, Haribo,
Nitai Gaura Haribo,
Sai Gaura Haribo, 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 Haribo,
Nitai Gaura Haribo,
Haribo, Haribo.
Jai Shri Shri Guru Garanga Ganhavaka Girihari, Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Radha Govinda Dev Ki Jai, Radha Gopinath Ju Ki Jai, Radha Binod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Jai Nityananda Rai Ki Jai, Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai, Jai Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Mahabhagavat Srila Gaura Kishodas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Baladevi Dibhushan Gaudi Vrantaracharya Ki Jai. Jai Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamanand Prabhu Treya Ki Jai. Jai Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai. Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shri Bhata Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhattadasa Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai. Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gauda Parsada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sika Hosi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Shri Gauda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Jamuna Ki Jai, Brihat Mridanga Ki Jai, Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai, Nam Bhajan Ki Jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai, Nrsingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai, Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai, Gopishwa Mahadev Ki Jai, Purnamasi Dev Yogamaya Maharani Ki Jai, Antodvip Mayapur Simantadvip Godandvip Madhudvip Koladvip Ritudvip Dhanadvip Modamvip Rudavip Atmaka Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Bandiravan, Badaravan, Belvan, Lohavan, Mahavan, Madhuvan, Talvan, Kamudvan, Bahulavan, Vrindavan, Kadyavan, Kamyavan, Vraja-mandala Ki Jai, Urjavrat Ki Jai, Niyamaseva Ki Jai, Damadavrat Ki Jai, Chatumasya Vrat Ki Jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Om Aginati Mirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmaya Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Prabhajantamana Paityam Apaitya Krityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tammayatayo Taravo Vinirustam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munamanatosmi Anapita Chirim Chirat Kuruna Vartino Kalo Samarapaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundarata Dikatam Vasadipita Sada Hridare Kandare Swadatu Vasachinandanaha Bhaktya Vihina Aparara Lakshay Shiptascha Karmarita Rangamadye Kripa Mayitvam Sharanam Prapana Brinde Namaste Charanarvindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurasmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Baradram Tato Mamanastikatena Kapi Tavaivasmi najivami tvaivina iti vignaya rate tvam nayamam charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Asto Tadasara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Asto Tadasara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada. And all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Vargya, my Dandavat pranams, and to all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Avancha kalpa tarupyascha kripa sindhavevicha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namaha. So today we're going to climb aboard our buses, and then we're going to travel from Vrindavan Dham, from the banks of the Jamuna. And there's two roads we can go. I'm not sure which route they will go today. We can either go, when we reach Chhattisgarh, we can either come straight direct to Radhakund on this road here, which is through Bahulavan, which is here. Bahulavan will stretch down here. So even if we go via Mathura, this is Mathura, this is about 8 miles from Vrindavan to Mathura. Then from Mathura, we can also come. So I think this is probably the less crowded road, and they'll come this way, because we're going to come from Mathura along, and then we're going to go down here. This is saying Anayo and Paitha-grama. Paitha is down here. Kamudvana is over here. This is Paitha. So Paitha-grama, we're going to visit Paitha-grama and take darshan of that manifestation of Lord Narayan that he showed to the gopis. And then we're going to travel back up to Govardhan, and we're going to visit Candra-sarovara, which is about where the end of this stick is. So Candra-sarovara is about there. So we'll pass Candra-sarovara on the way, and then we'll visit Paitha-grama. And then we'll come into the township of Govardhan. If we had gone the other route, if you remember, a couple of days ago, I was describing how Nanda Baba would travel from Gokul, which is way down here, and he traveled across the Jamuna, not in the Mathura way. He would go up via Ral, and he would come across from Mansarovar to Vrindavan forest, and he'd travel this way. Then he'd go to Chhattisgarh, then he'd come to, there's Ral here, or there's Basant, the town of Basanti. There's Basanti there. So this little village of Basanti is there on the way. So today we're going to go through the forest of Bahulavan. Now, if you remember, if you're acquainted with these roads, you'll appreciate that now they have a flyover, because there's a train track that comes down all the way from Delhi, and it crosses over near Chhattisgarh. And previously, we'd always have to sit for a couple of hours even waiting for the trains. But now, with our new Prime Minister, he's built a flyover here, so it's very convenient. So we have a flyover, but that flyover is right in the location of Bahulavan. So if you're traveling at any time out to Radhakund and you go across the flyover, you should appreciate just on my left is the forest of Bahulavan. So this is the forest of Bahulavan. But today we'll also be traveling through Bahulavan, but I think via Mathura. So this is the whole area where we're going to be traveling today. So it's just a one-way travel, because we've got our baggage with us, and we're going to lodge in Govardhan for the next 15 days. Okay, so Bahulavan ki jai, Giriraj Govardhan ki jai. So as we've made our journey, and we come to the delightful forest of Bahulavan. This forest is named after the Saki, Bahula Saki. And also, it's named after one cow. There was a cow also named Bahula. And we'll have a little story about that also. So this forest of Bahulavan is deeply attractive, just as all of the forests are, especially with the bird life, etc. And when Mahaprabhu would travel through Bahulavan, it's described that he would listen to the conversation between the suk, the male parrot, and the sari. So I'm going to read from our Parikrama book, the beautiful, sweet conversation. This, if we listen carefully, this will take us into the mood of Vrindavan. That the suk and sari, they're having what is called a lover's quarrel. Who is the greatest, Radha or Krishna? These are two parrots that are having this incredible conversation. So the suk is saying, Mahaprabhu is listening to this. This is described that Mahaprabhu saw a suk and sari sitting in two opposite branches. A prem kalaha, a loving quarrel, glorifying Sri Radha and Krishna Yugal, was taking place between them. So Mahaprabhu, he was listening to this loving quarrel. And the sukha is saying, my Krishna is Madan Mohan, the enchanter of Cupid's mind. When we say Madan, that means meeting. When we say Mohan, that means separation. So Madan Mohan, he's famous 50% for meeting and 50% for separation. So Madan Mohan. This is one explanation. There are many explanations of this, but because Madan Akya Mahabhav is the meeting and Mohan is the separation mood. So Madan Mohan. So the sukha is proclaiming that Krishna is Madan Mohan, the enchanter of Cupid's mind. And the sari responds, yes, he is, as long as my Radha is at his left side. Otherwise, he is only Madan. He's not Mohan without Radha. Sukha is saying, my Krishna held Giriraj on his finger. Sari replies, because my Radha transmitted Shakti into him. Otherwise, how could he have done so? And this is completely true. Radhika is all Shakti. All the potency that Krishna demonstrates in any circumstance is all manifesting from Sri Radhika. We've understood something of Radha Tattva, that the Shakti is totally dependent on the Shaktiman. If we consider like the sun, for example, the sun is the original object of light, where the light is manifesting from, like the Shaktiman. But the rays of light, the Shakti, the energy that is coming, this is what we are appreciating now. We're appreciating the energy. We're sitting in the sunlight. We're sitting in the sun's rays. It's the sun's energy that is transforming into all these material worlds. But the sun's energy, that Shakti, is completely dependent on the sun for its existence. But the sun is not dependent on the Shakti for its existence. Nevertheless, at the same time, neither can exist without the other. So this is Radha and Krishna. Krishna is that Shaktiman. He's like the sun. And Radhika is like the rays. But it's the rays from the sun that contains all the potency and all the Shakti. So when Krishna is performing all of his activities, they're all being orchestrated entirely by Shakti. My Gurudev said so many times that without Radhika, Krishna is like zero. That means he has no energy. The Shakti has taken on a form, his Swarup, his own form. Krishna is Rup. Shakti is Swarup, his own form. So try to just get this basic platform, and then we can appreciate more significantly the speciality between Radha and Krishna. They are one. Radha, Krishna, Pranaya, Vikritiya, Kladini, Shakti, Asmat, Ekatmanav. They are one. Yet at the same time, for Leela, they have divided into two. So this is absolutely phenomenal. Because, as I've said almost daily, that this only happens once in the entire day of Lord Brahma. The entire day and the night. What is that length of time? 8,640,000,000 years. It's calculated exactly the day and the night of Lord Brahma. And only once during that period do Radha and Krishna combine to manifest as Sachinandan Gaurahari, to give this remarkable, intoxicating philosophy of Raganuga Bhakti, of Swabhakti Shriyam. service to Radhika. Mahaprabhu himself, he's tasting that Unnata Ujjvala Ras. That Unnata means the topmost. Unnata Ujjvala means brilliantly shining. That brilliantly shining Ras is being experienced by Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu wanted to come to taste his own prem. Prem Ras Niryase Korite Ashwada. This is the principal reason for Mahaprabhu's advent, to taste prem. And at the same time, he's going to give Ragmag Bhakti Loke Karite Prachan. He's going to give this Raganuga Bhakti to the conditioned souls. But it's not just Raganuga Bhakti. It's actually a gift of Manjari Bhav. It's a gift, this Swa Bhakti Shriyam. Mahaprabhu, he's tasting the Unnata Ujjvala Ras. That's his property. We cannot taste that property. But he's giving Swa Bhakti, his own Bhakti. Swa means own, like Swarup, Swadam, own. His own Bhakti. Swa Bhakti, Krishna's Bhakti. Who is Krishna's Bhakti? What is Krishna's Bhakti? It's Radha. He's devoted to Radha. So he's giving service to Radha. Swa Bhakti Shriyam means beauty. He's giving the beauty of that service to Radha. And what is the beauty of Radha's service? Are her manjaris, her sold out maidservants. This is the beauty of Radhika. This Swa Bhakti Shriyam. Rupa Goswami, who has captured the very essence of Mahaprabhu's mission. Why? Because he's the very closest to Sri Radhika. He knows exactly what it is that Mahaprabhu, that Krishna, wants to actually benedict the jivas with. Krishna is filled with karunamayi, compassion. He can't express any compassion in the spiritual worlds. In Vaikuntha, everyone is completely satisfied. In Dwarka, everyone's satisfied. In Goloka, everyone's satisfied. There's no place for compassion. There's only place for compassion here. So that mood of karunamayi is what Krishna is saturated with. And he comes here and not only gives us Shuddha Bhakti, but gives us Bhakti Ras. But he's not giving it, is he? He just gives us the 8 verses from Shikshastakam, which can be unpacked to imply and mean all of these teachings that we talk about. But who are doing the explanations of those 8 verses? It's Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Krishnadas Kaviraj, Narottam Das, Srinivas, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. They are the ones. And what are their identities? They're all manjaris, every last one of them. So if anyone is illusioned to think that my Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada was not a manjari, then I don't think he has his vision very much focused. Why would he be sitting in this line with all these manjaris if he wasn't a manjari? Perhaps he has a Saki Ras also. Perhaps he's a Saka also. We don't know. That hasn't been revealed. Just like Ramananda Roy had 2 identities. We don't know. Perhaps Prabhupada had 2. I'm just saying that. But the idea of Prabhupada being a Saka is absurd. When he's sitting, where is he sitting? He's sitting next to Naini Manjari or Naini Mani, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. And who is manifesting along with him? Vinod Manjari, Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. And who was just prior to that is Guna Manjari, is Gokishore Das Babaji. And prior to that, who is that? Kamala Manjari, Bhakti Vinod Thakur. They're all Manjaris. So how could it be that Bhaktivedanta Swami is the only odd one out? And yet he has given such a significant thrust to this Gaudiya line. In the last 200 years, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he put this whole Gaudiya Siddhanta back on the map, so to speak. It had become depleted for practically 100 years because there was no prominent acharya. But the Western world had never even heard of it before. When I was growing up, I never even heard of Krishna. I wasn't that fortunate. I didn't hear of him till I was about 20 years old. Didn't even hear the sound vibration of Krishna's name. And how was I able to hear it? Only through Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. So what a powerful influence is he on the lives of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission is in the hands of Rupa Goswami, because he's the closest to Sri Radha. All of the Manjaris, they all have a staibab. It's called Bhavalas. That's their staibab of Manjari. That is their very nature, their very essence. So all these personalities, they're all fully dedicated, sold out maidservants of Sri Radhika, because this is what Mahaprabhu came to give. How could it be that Mahaprabhu has come to give this, but this other person, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he's not really sitting in the same line, but he has so much influence in this line. It just doesn't ring up. And someone who sings Jai Radha Madhava every day has got to have some inclination toward Radha and Madhav and the Jamuna, etc. Anyway, so Sukh and Sari are speaking so beautifully here, and Mahaprabhu, he's listening, entranced. That Radhika, he's saying, because my Radha transmitted Shakti into him, otherwise, how could he have done so? That's what I began to explain. How could Krishna have done that without the Shakti? When Krishna is lifting Giriraj Govardhan, my Radhika is saying, my Gurudev is saying that Radhika is telling Giriraj, if you drop even a sesame seed in height, I will incinerate you immediately. It was the Shakti of Radhika that held Giriraj there. And Krishna is just underneath looking like the hero. But actually it's Radhika. Always it's Radhika and her Sakhis and her Manjaris. They are the heroes. It's a wonderful meditation that the more we chant, the more we dive into the Shastra, the more we will appreciate these phenomenal truths. Because we hear Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And yes, he is. But at the same time, that is tattva vichar. Vichar means like consideration. But in Rasa vichar, Sri Radhika, she's called Swadhina Bhartika. She completely controls Krishna. Totally, fully. And Krishna is so satisfied with that. This is what Krishna wants. He wants to be controlled by love. That is Krishna's desire. That is the highest desire of Krishna. And it's all fulfilled by Sri Radhika. So understand the love between Radha and Krishna. So Sukha and Sari, they're bringing this out. Sukha, my Krishna is the life of the whole universe. Sari, my Radha is the life of that life. Sukh, my Krishna's head is decorated with a peacock feather. Sari, only because my Radha's name is marked on that feather. Sukha, the peacock feather on my Krishna's head leans to the left. Sukha, the peacock feather on my Krishna's head leads to the left. Sari, because it wants to bow down to my Radha's feet. The peacock feather wants to bow down. Smaragarala kandanam, mamasi rasi mandanam, dehi padapalava. It wants to bow down to the lotus feet of Sri Radhika. Sukha, my Krishna is the moon. Sari, my Radha is the trap that captures the moon. She captures the moon-like face of Krishna fully. Actually, there's a beautiful description in Gita Govinda. Radhika is waiting in the Kunj, hopefully, that Krishna will appear. And there's 3 entrances to the Kunj. And she's not sure where Krishna may appear. So Jaidev Goswami is describing that she's spinning around, looking at all the 3 entrances simultaneously, and she's weeping at the same time in anticipation of Krishna's arrival. And this weeping and spinning creates a net a net to catch Krishna, whichever entrance he comes in. So it's a very beautiful description by Jayadev Goswami of Radhika capturing the moon of Sri Krishna. So Sari is saying like this, Suk, there is no need to quarrel uselessly. Let us both glorify Yugal Kishore together. Sari, I accept with great pleasure. So they accept. And then there's another conversation also I'd like to share from this Parikrama book today. So in Govinda Lilamrita, Srila Krishna's Kaviraj. Who is Krishna's Kaviraj? He's Kasturi Manjari. Another Manjari. Another person who can open the door to Manjari Bhav for us. All of these personalities can open this exceptional door. So I won't read the Sanskrit, I'll just read the translation here. So, May Prabhu Jagan Mohan, whose unparalleled beauty plunders the wealth of patience of an innumerable multitude of women. I'll read that again. May Prabhu Jagan Mohan, whose unparalleled beauty plunders the wealth of patience of an innumerable multitude of women, whose world-famous glory astounds even Lakshmi Devi, whose strength turns Giriraj Govardhan into a child's toy, who has unlimited qualities, whose simple disposition entertains everyone, and whose glory substantiates the welfare of the entire universe, protect the entire world. So this is Sukha, is saying this. How glorious. It's a beautiful, worshipful prayer to Krishna by Sukha. Now, Sari responds to this. She's saying, oh, Sukha, first of all, oh, Sukha, Shri Radhika's prem, beauty, dancing, excellent calmness, expertise in music, wealth of good qualities, and poetic compositions, or in other words, her erudition, are all so attractive that she steals away the heart of Sri Krishna, who enchants the heart of the entire universe. Radhika is modern Mohan Mohini. Krishna is modern Mohan. Radhika is that Mohini who bewilders the Mohan. This is who is Radhika. So this is all in the forest. And again, the Sukha then says, again in Govardhana Lilamrita, Sarika, he says, all glories to Sri Madan Mohan, the enchanter of Cupid, who carries Avamsi. He steals the heart of all the women of the entire universe and wanders here and there with the gopis to enjoy with them. It's described that Mahaprabhu became so overwhelmed upon hearing this love quarrel between Sukha and Sari that he could not maintain his equilibrium, and he fell down on the earth in a faint. His companions somehow brought him back to consciousness, after which he continued his parikrama of Braj. This is all taking place in Bahulavan. This is the first forest we've come today. So we can appreciate the ecstatic nature. If these types of descriptions are thrown into the atmosphere in the forest of Bahulavan, we can imagine the auspicious nature of that forest. These transcendental words, they don't leave the atmosphere. They remain in the atmosphere because they're transcendental. That means they're eternal. So these incredible descriptions, they are influencing the atmosphere. When we go to a forest like this, if we're chanting nicely, meditating, focusing, remembering all these types of pastimes, then we will get to appreciate very deeply the reality of these pastimes taking place right in this forest where we are now. So this is Bahulavan. And there's a little temple here. And on the temple, there's a cow and a tiger. And they always tell the story here in this town of Bahulavan of the cow that was out grazing one day and met a ferocious tiger who wanted to eat her. And the cow's name is Bahula. And Bahula had a new calf called Hansi. And she beseeched the tiger, "My dear tiger, sir," with great respect, she spoke to him, "can you please allow me to go back and feed my new baby calf one time, Hunksy? Otherwise, he will die. So please let me just go back." Now, the tiger was in Braj, so he understood the dharmic nature of the cows. He understood that the cow, if the cow says she's going to come back, then she will come back. So the tiger said, "Okay, you can go back, feed Hunksy, and then you come back." So Bahula went back, she fed her Hunksy, and she was weeping and weeping. And the calf said, "Oh my, why are you weeping?" And she didn't say anything to begin with. And then finally, after insistence by the calf, she said, "Well, actually, there's a tiger in the forest that I met today, and I've vowed that after I've fed you, I will go back and then he will eat me." Immediately, the little calf Humpsy said, "No, mother, you stay here. I will go and be eaten by the tiger." And the mother said, "No, no, 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 never. I will go." And the farmer who owned the two cows knew the language of the cows. He could hear their communication. The cows actually communicate through their cow horns. That's how they communicate with each other. It's like telepathy. It's like they communicate that way. So he listening to their conversation, and he understood the dire straits that this cow was in, having to go. Then he burst into the cow shed, and said, "No, no, neither of you will go. I will go and present myself to the tiger. I'm not going to have them take your lives." So the farmer went, and immediately the mother cow went, and immediately the little baby went. So all three of them arrived in the forest facing the ferocious tiger. And they were all ready to give their lives to the tiger. But at this point, the miracle happens and Krishna appears. And Krishna directly looks into the eyes of the tiger and purifies his heart from that aggressive nature to want to consume the flesh and blood. And he purifies the heart of that tiger. Then the tiger turns to the three of them and said, "You are great souls. I am offering you my Dandavat pranams." And the tiger just leaves. Then all three come back to the cowshed. So this story doesn't seem like actually a story. It seems like a reality because it's always told in this village of Bahulavan. And on the very altar, they have the images of a tiger and the cow together. So this pastime is always spoken in Bahulavan. So today we've come to this forest of Bahulavan, and it's an exceptionally Rasik place, as are all the forests of Vrindavan, if we choose to tune in to the Rasik nature and pastimes that were performed there. And this Vrindavan Parikrama for all my Gurudev is really expressing the moods of Mahaprabhu when he was there in Bahulavan, tasting these special descriptions of Sukha and Sari that he heard. So this is Bahulavan. So now we will climb on our buses and again travel depending on which road we're on, but we'll come to a village called Parsoli. And in the village of Parsoli is Candra-sarovara. And Candra-sarovara is described nothing to do with Chandravali. Candra-sarovara is called this name because Chandradev became struck with wonder when he witnessed Krishna's Vasant Panchami, his springtime ras. It's not his Maharas. In the Sarat Punima, the Maharas is when all the Sakis take part. The Pran Sakis, the Priya Sakis. No,
all the Sagna Siddha Gopis and all this.
Yes, all. The Maharas, all are taking part. The Sakis, the Priya Sakis, and the Pran Sakis. The Nitya Sakis and the Pran Sakis are performing their seva. They don't engage in sambhog. What are their terminologies called? That's tad, bhav, ichamai. They become one entirely with Radhika's mood. in their seva to her. So all those very younger girls, they're 12 years old, 11 years old, they're serving the Sakis, serving Sri Radhika, or they're serving Chandravali. She also has her manjaris. So this Vasant Ras is only with the principal Sakis, the Nityasiddha, the Priya Sakis and the Priya Nam Sakis. This is not the Maharas. And this is the Ras that was performed in Candra-sarovara. So this Ras Leela pastime was manifested at that time. So I had a question actually that I wasn't clear on personally, and I'm just going to express the question, and there might be devotees, there's Anandini Didi and different very qualified devotees perhaps watching. They might enlighten me that I'm thinking, did Radhika leave the Ras every single time it was the Ras Leela? Krishna performs Ras Leela for a whole 12 months. Just mobile data. It's going now? Okay, so my question was, when the network went down, maybe I shouldn't have asked the question. Maybe something's indicating to me. But I was interested to appreciate that the same dynamic of Radhika leaving the Ras Leela is happening every single time that the Ras Leela pastime takes place, which is every single day for a whole 12 months. The last year of Krishna's manifest pastimes in Vrindavan were engaged in the Ras Leela every single night. And sometimes it would be the Maharas, and sometimes it would be the Vasant Panch Ras, with just these selective gopis. But I'm pretty sure that, unless somebody wants to correct me, that every single time Radhika has to bring again the pinnacle of focus of attention for appreciation to her as the queen of the Ras, because the other gopis are extremely qualified. They're fully qualified. Lalita, Vishaka, Champakalata, Chitratunga, Vidya, Sudevi, Rangadevi, Induleka. They are so qualified personalities. They are as good as Radha practically. They're not Atyantiki Adhika. They're not the same potency as Radhika, but they are extremely potent personalities. So they also will feel that Saubhagyavati, that happiness and pride in having Krishna as their individual consort, because that's what they're feeling during the Ras Leela. They're thinking Krishna is only dancing with me. That's why they become proud, because Krishna is going so quickly and he's giving them the impression that Krishna is only dancing with them, and they're feeling so satisfied by that. Krishna is the expert of experts, and he's satisfying all his potencies, all his sakis in this way. So I'm thinking that every single time these ras is performed, the same height of ras has to be reached, the pinnacle. And that means that Radhika has to leave and Krishna has to pacify her man each time. And during this particular Candra-sarovara pastime, there's a beautiful description, a unique description during this time, because all the gopis, when Krishna leaves the Ras Leela, they begin searching for Krishna frantically. It's described in that chapter 30 of the 10th canto that they are like a bunch of mad women wandering through the forest together, talking to the trees, the bushes, the deer, all the animate entities, asking, inquiring the way of Krishna. And on this particular day, when the Candra-sarovara pastime was manifested, they come to Paitha-grama. And in Paitha-grama, Krishna, he stands in front of them, but as Lord Narayan. He stands with four arms. And all the gopis, they see him and they just offer pranam like that, because the gopis, they have heard from Purnamasi. Nakala gopika nandano bhavan akila dehinam antarat madrik. They've heard from Purnamasi that Krishna actually is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They don't believe that when they're with Krishna. When they're with Krishna, they never think like that. But when they're in separation from Krishna, like in this Gopi Geet verse I just chanted, Nakala Gopika, Nandano Baba, this is in Gopi Geet. This is the 4th verse of Gopi Geet. The gopis are declaring, oh Krishna, you are not only the son of Yashodama, you are also the supersoul and witness in the hearts of all living entities. This is what the gopis are singing in their separation mood. When they're in a separation mood, they see Krishna, the Aishwarya aspect, simultaneously to the Madhurya aspect. Only when they're in separation. When they're actually directly with Krishna, they never consider Krishna is that Supreme Person. My Gurudev has described that if you've got 200 liters of milk boiling and you have a little piece of grass that's rolling with the bubbling milk, and occasionally that little piece of grass bubbles up to the surface, that's how often they think Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But they never think like this when they're actually directly with him, except one time in Pranaya Geet. In this Pranaya Geet, right at the beginning of the Rasa Leela in chapter 29, when they have this mood, they're actually with Krishna directly, but they're also thinking there's impending separation just about to come, because Krishna sent us home. So they're not sure they have to go home or not. And they're arguing with Krishna, and they defeat Krishna, and they remain with Krishna. But during these prayers, in this Pranaya Geet, they're also witnessing Krishna as the Supersoul. They're saying, you are the Supersoul also within the hearts of all living entities. So when they're in the separation mood, they have vision of Krishna's complete universal greatness, as well as his most attractive conjugal aspect, their loving relationship with him. But it's only when they're in separation. So this phenomena in Pranaya Geet is when they're actually with Krishna, but they're feeling separation is just around the... So these moods have risen. So I find that intriguing, that to appreciate that the gopis have those feelings when they're in separation, not when they're in meeting with Krishna. So when they come to see this four-armed form of Krishna, they don't think for a moment that that's Rajendranandan Krishna. They think this is the Supreme Personality of God. And no, they offer, oh Hare Krishna. But have you seen Rajendranandan Shyam Sundar? And he just doesn't say anything. So the gopis just leave. They just go because they're not looking for Narayan. But when Radhika appears, Krishna's prem is so intense, he can't maintain his four-armed form because he knows how much Radhika loves him. That's the nature of Krishna. He's dependent on that reciprocal relationship for his own prem. Yayatamam prapadyante tam sataiva prajamyaham. When he's in the proximity of the gopis, and according to the extent of their anurag for him, or their prem for him, he will reciprocate in such a way. If they don't have sufficient anurag, then he doesn't reciprocate in such a potent way. You understand what I'm saying? So always it's like this in every single circumstance, that Krishna will reciprocate. He'll reciprocate with Mother Yashoda according to her Vatsalya Bhav. He'll reciprocate with Sridham, Stoka Krishna, Madhu Mangal, according to their Sakya Bhav. He'll reciprocate with Baladev when he's in Sakya Bhav. He'll reciprocate with Baladev when he's as Ananga Manjari. But always remember that Ananga Manjari is not a Manjari. She's a Saki. But that's another explanation. So they see at this Paitha-grama where we've come today. We've gone to Candra-sarovara. We're hearing something about the moon is stationary. That's why it's called Candra-sarovara. It's completely stuck. And we'll hear more about this when we do our Govardhan Parikrama, because there's a place on the Govardhan Parikrama where Balaram, he's witnessing this from a great distance. He's witnessing that the moon has become stationary and he's completely transformed. Baladev, he's crouching down and he's looking across to Candra-sarovara, and he can see that the moon has just become stationary for 8,640,000,000 years. It's an entire, actually no, it's 4,320,000,000 years. It's the night of Lord Brahma. We can't conceive of these achintya moods, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said repeatedly that the sadhak who doesn't have an appreciation for these achintya bhavs, this inconceivable nature, then he can never progress on the path of bhakti. We see children, they are filled with a mood of astonishment, practically all the time up to the age of 3 or 4 years, and then they start gathering some sort of solid type of relationship with the material environment. So they're not so much astonished as they were when they were young. But we see this mood of adbhuta ras or chamatkar, this mood of astonishment. And the sadhak should always be conscious of trying to stay in that achintya mood of astonishment and not trying to put in logical, rational boxes constantly. Our minds are working, some of us, regularly in like logic and rationale. That's how the material intelligence operates. But these pastimes of transcendence, the moon staying stationary for 4 billion years, don't even try to consider it rationally. Just appreciate this is the phenomena. How can we understand Krishna and this universe? We can't even understand how the hair grows on our heads at night. We can't even understand how our nails grow. And yet we're so important and we're trying to understand, the entirety of the universe with our tiny little pea brains. Just drop it and just appreciate these incredible, intoxicating descriptions that have been given by the acharyas. So Baladev, he's crouching down and he's aware, he's watching the moon that is stationary, and he becomes completely shyam, hue, totally blackish, because he's so dedicated to his younger brother with all his life and soul and every particle of his being, just like Mother Yashoda is dedicated to Krishna. So Baladev is also so dedicated. That's why he manifests all the universes through his Sankarshan manifestation, his Mool Sankarshan, his Maha Sankarshan, all the Purusha avatars. They're all manifesting from Baladev Prabhu in service to Krishna. This is how much he loves him. So he's standing on the side of Govardhan Hill, on the southern side. We will pass by here tomorrow, and I'll remind us of this pastime. And he's crouched down, and he's become completely blackish. But now, and he's frozen. His whole being has gone solid in ecstasy. And the next morning, Krishna, he's walking around Govardhan, and he comes to Balaram like this. And Balaram is still there frozen. So he just gives him a little push like that, and his crown comes off. And when we're on Govardhan tomorrow, we can see the impression of that crown where it landed on the rocks. And we can see the exact place. They have a little temple to Baladev right there at that point. That point is a very, very narrow part of Govardhan. And but we'll stop there tomorrow. But this Candra-sarovara is an intoxicating place filled with ras, and it's only the Vasant ras, where only the selective gopis attend. It's not all the gopis. So this is the nature of this Ras Leela in Candra-sarovara. So now this is actually more or less the end of our parikrama today. Now we're simply going to we're going to stay in this place of Candra-sarovara, and there's different little temples there we can take darshan of. Actually, I have to confess to you all that generally on this particular day, I've usually personally come to Govardhan to prepare all the lodgings for the devotees. This is what my service would be for many, many years. I would book all the dharmshalas, etc. And when all the devotees were moving out, I would have gone ahead to Govardhan. So I regularly, personally missed this day of the parikrama. So I don't have a strong, I have to visit more often Candra-sarovara and get that impression of Candra-sarovara. But I've understood from speaking with the different devotees, etc., of its nature and excellence, but I don't remember all the um, temples that are around the Kund there. According to the Parikrama book, there's Tosha Gaon, where an expert dancer lived in this village. He taught Sri Krishna how to dance expertly too, by which Krishna became very satisfied. Tarasa Kund lies here. Krishna and Balaram and the cows and cowherd boys used to feel very satisfied when they drank the water of this Kund. Tosha means satisfaction, and this village is therefore called Tosha Gaon. So this village is very close by to Candra-sarovara. We don't actually go to all these places, but if you go privately, if you go separately, at another occasion, just a few of us, we go together, we can visit all these very small places that are there. Of course they're there, and we can hear about the intoxicating specialities of each of the pastimes that took place there. But with the main parikrama, we've actually covered already from Bahulavan to Paitha-grama, which is where Krishna manifests as Lord Narayan, to Candra-sarovara. So I've explained a little bit about each of those places. And now we're going to climb on our buses and we're going to go back to Giriraj Govardhan. And then tomorrow we're going to come on the main parikrama. Tomorrow we'll go via Anayor and Pucheri and Jetipur and come back around to the township of Govardhan. So we'll do that tomorrow. So actually today we need something of a rest because tomorrow is going to be a big day going around Govardhan. The whole of Govardhan is about 17 miles, about 22, 23 kilometers. Previously, when, what's his name? Pulastya Rishi carried Giriraj originally, it's described that Govardhan is 64 miles long and 40 miles wide. And what was it now? I have to look in my book. Just pass me that book, orange book on the top there. Yes, that one. Thank you, sir. I'll just give you these dimensions. I find this is always interesting to appreciate. Well, it's not because it's just regular and everyone believes, but actually it's completely achintya that these waves of electricity can be harnessed in such. I think it is. I'm not an electrician. Perhaps an electrician will think, well, that's quite normal, but for me, it's not. So Giriraj is 5 yojans wide. That means 40 miles wide. And he's 2 yojans high, which means 16 miles high. But today, because of the curse by Pulastya Rishi, he's been sinking 1 mustard seed per day. And once we did a calculation of that, and it works out, if you take 7 or 8 mustard seeds together, it comes to a calculation of about a fraction of an inch. I can't remember exactly what it was, but you can calculate it. How I've seen in my lifetime, 40 years of seeing Govardhan, it's shrinking, and the parikrama becomes less and less and less. It's going into the ground, but always there will be eternally a mood of Giriraj there, even if she disappears completely. So this today, Govardhan is about 300 feet, I think, in height. And when Krishna was on the planet, it's described that the shadow of Govardhan would cover Mathura. But because of this shrinking, 2 miles is very high for pastimes. So it became even less when Krishna was on the planet 5,000 years ago. So it became very conducive for his pastimes. Krishna could run up to secret kunjas on the top of the hill, top of Giriraj Govardhan. So it was all designed beautifully. We can compare this today to Mount Everest is 29,000 feet, 8,000 meters. That's how big Everest is today. So Govardhan was much, much bigger than Mount Everest previously, initially. So just interesting little additions to our appreciation of Govardhan. So gradually we can absorb more and more of the speciality of Giriraj Govardhan. But I'm going to stop now early today because we will have a long day tomorrow. And I've discussed all the places we've been to. So thank you so much for your attention. And we'll just leave it there for today. So Bahulavan ki jai, Candra-sarovara ki jai, Paitha-grama ki jai, Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. My Gurudev described one time that you can worship Giriraj Maharaj as um, as Krishna directly, or you can worship him as Dasa-varya, which is the greatest servant of Krishna, or third, you can worship him as Girirani. He says, how can there be two males in any of the caves on Govardhan? The caves on Govardhan, there's only one Purush when Krishna is performing his Rasa. There's not two. There's not Giriraj Maharaj just sitting in the background observing. No, Girirani is there. So my Gurudev, I only ever heard him say this once when we were doing a Navadvip Parikrama in Govardhan itself, because we didn't come for different reasons to Navadvip, but we just did the Parikrama from Govardhan itself. And at that time he explained that in his opinion, Giriraj was Girirani. So you'll find many people in our Sangha in particular, they have Girirani on their altars with beautiful lotus eyes and gopi dots, etc. But generally, others outside the Sangha, they're not so familiar with that conception. But it just makes such logical, rational sense that how can there be two males present in the confidential kunjas and caves of Giriraj Govardhan? Hantarya Madhira Bala Hariya Savarya Yad Ramakrishna Charana Sparsha Pramoda Manum Taroti Sao Govinastas Paniya Surivas Kandare Kandare Mulai. This is the description that the gopis give in verse 19 of Venugit. They're declaring him that Haridasa-varya. So we'll hear all these types of pastimes tomorrow. So Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Girirani Maharani ki jai, Haridasa-varya ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol, Vanchakalpatarupyascha, Kripa Sindhavaivacha, Patitanam Pavnebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namaha.
Namam Vishwaram Sachit Anandarupam Lasat Kundalom Kukule Vraja-mandalam Yashodabiyaluka Lakavamanam Onam Vishvam Atyanta Toruchagopya Yudantamo Hunnetra Yugmam Vijantam Aram Bhoja Yugmena Sadanganetram Muhushvasakam Patri Ehankakanta Sita Bharadamodaram Bhakti Bodham Siti Kriva Leela Ananda Kunde Swagosham Nimajantam Adhapayantam Tadeya Chitadeshu Bhakta Chitabam Puna Primadastam Svatavritti Bande Karan Deva Moksham Na Mokshavadimva Tatanya Prinehaya Deva Pudya Mudam Deva Purnata Gopala Balam Sura Vimanasya Virasramangay Idantino Tambojam Avyakta Nilay Itam Lai Snigdha Rakshashanopya Muhusyumbitam Bimba Rakadaram Me Manasya Virastam Avanaksham Namo Deva Namo Darananda Vishnu Prasida Pramodukta Jalati Madam Vipadrishi Vishyati Dinam Vadano Manhajam Vidyakshishya Suvedana Gauvadha Jaiva Yadvat Swayamati Jovati Bhajoviravta Ata Prema Bhaktin Swami Prayasha Namo Shri Damodare Namaste Sudamne Swaradipti Damne Adi Adadayata Vishwasya Damne Namo Radhikaya Kariyaya Priyaya Namo Leela Devaya Turyam Namo Radhikaya Kariyaya Priyaya Namo Leela Devaya Turyam Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Jaya Damodara, 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 Jaya Nandha Damodara Radha. Damodara Radhe, Jaya Radha Damodara Radha, Damodara Radhe, Jaya Guru Deva, 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 Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo, Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Gaura Premanandi, Hari Haribo. Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Giri Rani Maharani ki jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Shri Damodarastakam ki jai, Vaishnavas ki jai, Gauda Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhaveva cha, Patitanam Pavnebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namaha.